I would live to see the day when the Department of Justice seemed to be actively trying to get a former president assassinated. But ladies and gentlemen, it really does appear that today is that day. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show as we kick off a brand new busy broadcast week. If you would like to join us, our phone number is 414-799-1130. That's our AdventNews.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well. You can watch the show streaming live on social media or our YouTube channel. Just search for Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. The Department of Justice has about an hour ago released a letter apparently written by Ryan Wesley Routh, the attempted Trump assassin who laid in wait for about 12 hours at Trump's golf course in Florida and got within about 300 to 400 yards of the former president, stuck the barrel of his assault rifle, or as the left calls it, assault-style weapon, through some bushes, and but for the grace of God and a quick-thinking Secret Service agent who saw the barrel of that gun sticking through the bushes, Trump could have very nearly been killed a little more than a week ago. The Department of Justice has now released a letter from the killer, which does include a confession. He says, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you. I tried my best." He then continues, and I can't fathom why this part was released publicly by what ostensibly is the world's best investigative agency. This is a direct quote from this nutjob. "I tried my best. It's up to you now to finish the job, and I'll offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job." The DOJ, in other words, is releasing a bounty on the former president of the United States. In what universe is this acceptable practice? First of all, I understand that you release this to the public so that in the interest of the fullest release of information, that this was indeed an assassination attempt. This was a confession. This guy is caught dead to rights. The fact that he offers a $150,000 bounty, and my guess is that he's not able to pay it, seeing as he was bankrupt, yet somehow is able to globetrot and play mercenary in Ukraine. This was the issue that radicalized him. Remember, we focused on this all last week, used the exact same rhetoric as the Democratic Party, calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy, a threat to global stability, a threat that needed to be taken out by any means necessary. Now, he's trying to do just that. He's saying, okay, well, I'm behind bars. I failed. I couldn't do it. Now it's up to somebody else. For months, Trump was begging the Biden administration for more Secret Service. They recognized very early that because of the unique nature of Trump's position as a former president who is allocated Secret Service protection, but also as a current Republican presidential candidate, he needed a unique level of security. Also, because Democrats simply can't stop inflaming the crazy base that they have by calling him a threat to democracy, by saying that he poses this unique threat to the global stability, that if he gets in, according to historian Douglas Brinkley on Morning Joe this morning, he would be a, quote, radioactive threat. It is a doomsday scenario. This is a direct quote from Brinkley on this morning's Morning Joe. We'll get to that. An extended 2-minute segment that I think perfectly encapsulates the left's unhinged rhetoric about Trump, sure, but how they really view the world in terms of a government-centric need to control society through centralized power. In other words, the antithesis of what the founders intended. So on Bill Maher's show over the weekend, you had Maher talking about it Friday night. Maher's show airs. You had Maher talking about the second assassination about Trump, and he was going to set up a rather benign joke about Trump faces so many assassination attempts that in addition to the one shooter, there were two others behind him waiting to play through. It's, a joke in moderate taste, but ultimately, is it making light of the attempt on Trump's life? No, it's making a far more serious point that, holy cow, this guy came within 4 millimeters of being assassinated in July as he's begging for more Secret Service protection that was denied until July, until obvious Secret Service failures get this guy to within a couple hundred yards of Trump with a scope on his rifle, and even people in the crowd noticed before the Secret Service did that this guy's up on a roof aiming a rifle at Trump. The best excuse we get from the now former Secret Service director, by the way, was it was a sloped roof and it would have been too dangerous to put a Secret Service agent up there. So Trump doesn't get the protection he needs. He's saying, look, I need to have the same Secret Service detail after that first assassination attempt. I need to have the same Secret Service detail. I need to have perimeters cleared wherever I go. I need to have the same Secret Service detail as the current president. The threats on my life are so unique and so unprecedented that so too is my need for Secret Service protection. The Biden administration refused this request until last week, a second very near miss. Fortunately, again, a quick-thinking agent started firing at the suspect before he was able to get a shot off. Let's say that Secret Service agent happened to be looking in a different direction in that millisecond that he or she saw the barrel of that gun. Trump could have very easily been killed again. So on Friday, Maher tries to set up this joke about the second assassin, and his audience, well, just listen to this.
So let's not bury the lead. The big story this week, they tried to shoot Trump again. Let's not funny. Okay. I'm being serious now. This is the second time this happened. I said this before. There can be no fuzz on this. This is not funny. Okay? It's not okay. It's not okay to wish it happened. Well, this is a problem.
See, leftists in his audience, and Maher is slowly getting red-pilled. He's a traditional Democrat who despises the woke authoritarian leanings of the modern Generation X and millennial liberals who have leaned fully into the control of speech. He is a comedian and someone who has always been somewhat edgy in his liberalism, understands that he too is on the cancellation list, so he understands what the modern left has become. He also has at least some modicum of decency to realize that, hey, the idea of Trump getting shot is not funny. His audience, not quite. Not only are they saying, well, the first assassination attempt didn't really happen. Trump faked the blood on his face, the blood from his ear. The giant bandage he wore during the Republican National Convention was totally unnecessary because Trump wasn't really shot. Republicans have been smeared with the fringes of QAnon for the better part of a decade now, whereas BlueAnon conspiracies like this are widespread and mainstreamed in the Democratic Party, that Trump really didn't face an assassination attempt. Well, now you have what I don't even believe is a conspiracy theory, because I can't fathom a legitimate reason for an investigative agency to release something. The last thing you ever want to do is to try to promote the idea of copycatting. You don't want to inspire, as a member of the media or a law enforcement agency investigating an attempted assassination or a school shooting or some form of mass shooting, some sort of crime that would inspire other crazies to try to copycat. I can't think of a legitimate reason other than, hey, we want it out there, you other crazies, that there's $150,000 that this guy clearly can't pay, but there's a $150,000 bounty on Donald Trump. Not only will you be rewarded, not only will history judge you as the savior of mankind if you're able to get a shot off at Trump and you're able to take him out, you'll also get $150,000. I don't think it's conspiracy mongering to say, is it out of left field to suggest that the Department of Justice is doing this deliberately to try to get another assassination attempt on this guy? I'm almost terrified at this point if Trump wins the presidency, which is looking increasingly likely. Another round of swing state polling by New York Times and Siena shows that Trump is building up a pretty near, I don't want to call any lead insurmountable, but it's a very solid lead in the Sun Belt, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, that I don't think Kamala Harris is going to be able to overtake. And remember, pretty much every pollster over the last two election cycles has dramatically underestimated Trump's support while overestimating the Democrats. So if you see Trump with a 3-4 point lead, holy cow, in Arizona, he might actually be up by 7, 8, 9, which actually takes that race out of the toss-up or even lean Republican column and puts it into solid Republican. Kamala has to have a clean sweep in the blue wall and the Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin corridor that was key to Trump's victory in 2016. And in the upper Midwest, it's looking a whole lot more like 2016 out there than 2020. But I digress, and we will get into that a little bit later. I am actually terrified if Trump wins the presidency because the threats against him, the assassination attempts against him, are not going to stop. Now, this morning, I alluded to the Morning Joe program saying, hey, Bill Maher says that you can't talk about Trump being a threat to democracy because that's inspiring the crazies. Well, it absolutely is. In this 2-minute segment, and I'm going to interrupt to make a broader point about liberal rhetoric and how it's ingrained, this sort of idea that any sort of Republican rule, any sort of conservative governance that would reduce the power of the centralized federal government at all isn't just something that they would consider to be bad policy. They don't try to make the argument that, hey, this is bad policy and here's why. They talk about that in apocalyptic terms. If you want to eliminate the Department of Education and simply have states govern education, like the founders intended, like the 10th Amendment explicitly states, powers not delegated to the federal government are explicitly those of the states or to the people themselves. This is not difficult, but Democrats can't make that case that it's bad policy to eliminate the Department of Education. So what they say is, again, they speak about it in apocalyptic terms and say, well, education will end. Historian Douglas Brinkley, who one would think would know better, is a guest on Morning Joe this morning. Joe and Mika mock the notion that Bill Maher was saying that it's inappropriate, it's wrong to laugh at the assassination of Trump, and that it's wrong to call him a threat to democracy because, like the $150,000 bounty, that's sort of inspiring other psychopaths. Brinkley's answer, in about a minute and a half, perfectly encapsulates the liberal worldview on almost everything.
And Doug, what do you say to people, and Bill Maher talked about this this weekend, that say you can't suggest that Donald Trump is a threat to American democracy,
violent rhetoric,
or else that's violent rhetoric, as Dan Henninger basically blamed Democrats for trying to kill Donald Trump. Of course, not talking about Donald Trump's violent rhetoric. But what would you say to those that say you can't even suggest that Donald Trump doing all that he did is a threat to democracy, or else you're engaging in political hate speech?
You can't suggest that Donald Trump will destroy everything you care about, that Donald Trump will become a Hitler-like figure, or else you're engaging in violent rhetoric. Well, we have already had 2 assassins try to kill Trump, both of whom were obviously motivated by this exact same idea, that Trump is a threat to me and everything I care about, and that the only thing I can possibly do is to strike back. Brinkley's answer is what you would expect, but it also reveals a little bit more about the modern liberal mindset than I think he intended to.
Well, it's nonsense. You know, I'm a practicing Catholic. When I see somebody like Donald Trump get shot in the ear, or what almost happened at Mar-a-Lago, you know, your prayers go off for him because you honor all humans. But if you're talking about the danger, the inherent danger of Donald Trump, he's radioactive. He wants to come in and gut government.
Okay. He's radioactive because he wants to go in and gut government, because he would dare to say, hey, the federal government has gotten a little too big. Hey, maybe we should rein in the power that was never expressly delegated to the federal government, like, say, on things such as environmental protection or education. Congress and the executive branch have very limited powers as delegated by the Constitution. The framers intended there to not be a strong central government. Now, the central argument between the Jeffersonian Democrats and the Federalists, who were sort of represented by Alexander Hamilton, and his writing in the Federalist Papers sort of indicated that he favored a stronger central government. Both of these men would be appalled at the volume of federal employees and the size, reach, scope, and just near godlike authority of the federal government, because they were always envisioning a United States of America, where power was more held by the people in the form of, yes, their elected representatives to Congress, but also the governments that they form among themselves. The founders understood that the government that is best is not necessarily the government that governs least, to borrow a popular quote, but the government that is most closely accountable to the people themselves. Those are state representatives. Those are local representatives. The idea was always that the people would be the ones who retain the power. When you've got a massive executive branch of millions and millions and millions of people, unelected bureaucrats, who simply stay in their positions of power regardless of who the people actually choose to be their representative in the form of a president, you've got a major problem. So right away, he's setting up this idea that the fundamental threat is that the central government would be at all decentralized. He goes on.
It's rhetoric that sounds good. And you start trying to get rid of civil service, collapse the federal government, you are going to find a country in disarray.
You get rid of civil service, you collapse the government by making it slightly smaller. Let's not kid ourselves. Over the last century and a half, government has not gotten smaller. When Republicans brag about reducing the size of government, what they're really talking about is reducing the rate of growth of government and government spending. There are never any cuts. Government and the money that it takes from taxpayers and then reallocates to what it sees fit has never, not once in 150 years, been reduced by any appreciable level. Because people like Douglas Brinkley believe that this would be an existential threat to us all. A 3% reduction in government spending. Oh, yes, Doug, get to your fallout shelter because the Department of Education might see a haircut.
It's a larger problem that the federal government hasn't educated the public enough to know all the incredible things somebody who works for the Environmental Protection Agency does for clean water, what we do for clean air. We don't talk enough about, flight safety. But when you start just willy-nilly saying you're going to wipe out a Department of Education, nobody even knows what that means.
You see, the people are too stupid, and we need to do a better job indoctrinating them in our worldview and telling them not, hey, a 3% reduction in the Department of Education probably means that state departments of education pick up the slack. And, oh, by the way, education is always something that constitutionally should have been left to the several states. Anyway, he's not going to say that. What he's going to say is we need to tell people that anyone who dares to even try this will lead to total societal collapse. That mental disconnect should actually be studied by psychologists. How do you believe that even a slight reduction in the scope or power of government leads to the collapse of civilization? Do you have any idea how many governments currently govern over a given individual? So I live in Waukesha County. I have my city government, I have my county government, I have a state government, and I have a federal government. There are 4 levels of government who impose rule on me. A reduction in one level, at the level that is farthest away from me, all the way in Washington, D.C., is really not going to have too much of an appreciable impact on my life, except maybe lowering the amount of money I pay in federal taxes each year. All right, are we ready for the big finish by Doug Brinkley? Let's get it.
Try it and get successful, particularly with the Supreme Court, with this, which Trump sees as a rubber stamp, and with the new prerogative the courts gave them of knowing, presidents are above the law. We're walking into a doomsday scenario if Trump gets in. People better wake up, take the smelling salt, and pay attention right now. These next days are going to be fast.
It's a doomsday scenario if Trump gets in. Now, you and I can laugh at that and say, okay, this guy is off his rocker. You got some person sitting in some bunker somewhere watching Morning Joe and saying, yes, I want to avoid doomsday. I can be the hero who does that. What is doomsday? Well, that's reform of the federal government. That's taking power at all away from the entrenched liberal bureaucracy that is the permanent power in Washington, D.C. Anybody who dares even suggest a different view of government isn't just a threat to liberal entrenched power, but rather to society itself. We will elaborate on this because I think this is a perfect 2-minute encapsulation of the modern left. When we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Lock in for October. Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run you don't want to miss at brewers.com/postseason.
Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. It's truck season at Lynch. It's fall and hunting season is right around the corner. So maybe it's time you upgrade your truck, and the place to do it is at Lynch. This month at Lynch, buy any new car or truck and receive a $500 accessory gift card. Plus, Lynch has financing as low as 1.9% to get you into the truck of your dreams. Whether it's the F-150, Maverick, Ranger, Silverado, Colorado, Sierra, or Ram, nobody sells for less than Lynch. With over 350 trucks in stock and top dollar for your trade, it'll be easy to find the perfect truck at one of their convenient locations. Lynch Chevrolet of Mukwonago, Lynch Ford of Mukwonago, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Mukwonago, Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha, Lynch Buick GMC in West Bend, and of course, the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington. Or search the huge Lynch selection and shop 24 hours a day at shoplynch.com.
Today's Dan O'Donnell program is brought to you by Great Midwest Bank. Whether you're ready to buy, build, or renovate, Great Midwest Bank takes the stress out of paying for it. Get started today at greatmidwestbank.com.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream, but it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with the commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi!
SemperFiRoofing.com.
Jerry Padgett, the second enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN. Committed to covering the important stories and issues that the rest of the media won't touch. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN. The next generation is here.
I'm the one. I'm the only one. I'm the one. I'm the only one.
You're listening to Dan O'Donnell.
Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde will join us at about 10:35 to talk about the state of his race and how polling has gotten significantly better for him over the past month. He is now not just within striking distance of incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin, he's within the margin of error in a whole lot of polls. We'll discuss that. Also, the thoroughly dishonest campaign that Baldwin has run against him. Not just lying about Eric Hovde's record, about Eric Hovde's life, but lying about bills that she sponsored. I can't believe, if we had an honest media in this state, those ads would have been taken down immediately because she pretends to have sponsored bills that she never did. We'll discuss that with Mr. Hovde and a whole lot more coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, plus an incredible act of independent journalism from our great friends at Wisconsin Right Now. They finally received the Warren Spahn emails. You might recall that Wisconsin's esteemed Governor Tony Evers used an alias, Warren Spahn, for emails that he didn't want to show up in public records requests. Now we know why. Because it's rather obvious that Tony Evers, like Joe Biden, isn't actually running this state. At the outset of his administration in early 2019, I started joking about Governor Maggie Gao, his chief of staff, who is actually the real governor of the state of Wisconsin. Turns out I was more accurate than I thought. We'll get to that also coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. I admit, folks, that I got kind of going on an extended rant here regarding the left's rhetoric regarding Trump and just how out of touch and unhinged they are when it comes to cutting any sort of government service or welfare program. You get me with a team of CPAs. Give me like 15 CPAs. Hell, we could have the folks at Annex Wealth Management do it, and I'll bet you I could cut the federal government by at least 35% without a single human being noticing. Except, of course, the people we would fire. Also, Doug Brinkley, we were using his answer to a question posed on Morning Joe about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Brinkley is a historian. He is aware that we used to totally replace pretty much every federal employee every 4 or 8 years. We used to have a system called patronage, where the president would reward his political loyalists and they get cushy positions in the federal government. Now, obviously, this wasn't a perfect system either because it was used to sort of get political favors and all of this. We still have that, by the way. Patronage still absolutely exists in how we appoint ambassadors to foreign countries. Those typically go to the most loyal political operatives or elected officials like Mayor Tom Barrett. How do you think he got the ambassadorship of Luxembourg, which is about as sweet a gig as you can possibly get? You get to live in Luxembourg for a few years and don't really do a whole heck of a lot, but the top donors often get, and this is on both sides. I'm not going to pretend that Democrats only do this too. Republicans do it too. Patronage still exists. When we have had the Civil Service Act passed, that's when you got this permanent entrenched bureaucracy that over the past century plus has gone so far to the left that it no longer even resembles America. This is how you had a Trump DOJ, which now might actively be trying to kill him, working to undermine him every single step of the way during his first term in office. Remember, Trump's first term was thoroughly dominated by a Russia collusion scandal that had no basis in actual reality. But the FBI and other elements of the Department of Justice leaked like crazy to the media to try to get Trump impeached and thrown out of office. Trump appointed the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who, of course, stupidly appointed a special counsel to investigate the Trump-Russia collusion scandal. This was why Sessions was ultimately replaced. You talk about one of the absolute dumbest things. You couldn't look into that and say there's absolutely nothing to this. The FBI at that point had been investigating for 6 months, allegedly, the ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, and had found nothing. So much so that Peter Strzok, you might remember him, he was the guy who headed that Russia collusion investigation. Hardcore deranged leftist actually texted his mistress, an FBI lawyer, when she asked, "Are you going to be joining the new special counsel team?" He said, "No, there's no there, meaning we already looked into this and I just don't think it's true." So even this guy, who, by the way, was part of the leaks that were getting this into the media narrative, this is all led by career bureaucrats, aka the deep state. I prefer to call it the bureaucracy, the blob, the millions of people who are not going anywhere ever, regardless of who's elected. And over the past presidency, actively undermined the duly elected president. Brinkley should know. Brinkley does know, but Brinkley is too blinded by political ideology that getting rid of some of the redundant agencies of government, getting rid of the non-essential functions of government and returning that power to the states is not only the founders' intent, it's also good government. In Brinkley's worldview, in the worldview of far too many modern liberals, though, this represents an existential threat. And you notice what the biggest threat to that permanent bureaucratic power was: the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court dares to declare thoroughly unconstitutional things to be thoroughly unconstitutional. Right? And then you've got the actual threat to democracy, where one party just says, no, our political opponent doesn't get to appear on the ballot. Supreme Court unanimously overthrew that. They said that's blatantly unconstitutional, Colorado. Get your you-know-what together. Then we have this canard that the Supreme Court declared Trump to be above the law. No, do you know what the Supreme Court actually said? You can't use the weaponized Department of Justice or a weaponized local prosecutor's office to go after a sitting president who does things that are within the scope of his official duties. This was always just kind of basic understanding of how constitutional principles worked. We had the power of impeachment and removal from office for acts that are unbefitting a president, high crimes and misdemeanors, that sort of thing. When you just sort of declare the president as undermining democracy by saying, hey, we've got all sorts of irregularities in Georgia, we really think you should look into this. That's not only protected constitutional speech, that is within the role of the president as the head of the Department of Justice. He can say, I would like this investigated. What the Supreme Court had to say is we can't have a rogue Justice Department and an unconstitutionally appointed special prosecutor just sort of say, okay, well, the next president can come in and criminalize everything the previous president did. This was already a well-settled principle in American democracy until now, until this exact moment where the left declared Trump such a unique existential threat that, again, by any means necessary, we need to ensure that he doesn't enact the doomsday scenario that Douglas Brinkley hypothesized. That doomsday scenario, Trump being reelected. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show, conservative thought, not just talk.
Hi, I'm Mike Madsen, owner of Color Wheel Painting. I have a confession. In 20 years of business, Color Wheel has made a lot of mistakes. Too many to count. We even have some negative Google reviews. We don't pay to have them scrubbed. I remember unplugging an internet box and having a customer come flying down the stairs yelling at me. He was a day trader. I've chased a dog down the street because I never asked my customers if they had any escape artist pets. I've used the wrong bathroom, been too early, left too late, and the list goes on. But you know what? Color Wheel has made it 20 years because everyone here has learned from the mistakes made. Any problem became an opportunity. Any oversight became a process revision. And now I can confidently say Color Wheel Painting is the best choice for anyone seeking an overall great experience and great results for their painting project. So choose Color Wheel. Color Wheel Painting. ColorWheelPainting.com.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
Whether it was from a burn, heat, water, or a candle wax spill, if you have a great piece of wood furniture that has a damaged top, don't worry, because if we have to, we can refinish tops only. Other places may say you need to refinish the whole piece, but we can do better than that. So don't let your great piece go to waste. If it's just the top you need refinished, or for jobs of any size, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. He was told it would cost him $1,000 to refinish his chair. But when it was done, he'd be able to sell it for at least twice that, only to find out that he paid more to refinish the chair than it was actually worth. You gotta watch out for dishonest people out there, but not over here. With over 50 years of experience, we'll give you a good idea of the value of your piece and whether it's worth refinishing. So for honest answers, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
Listen to U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde in his own words. Hovde insulted Wisconsin seniors.
Almost nobody in a nursing home is in a point to vote.
What a jerk.
Son, I've served this country. I think I can handle a ballot.
Hovde insulted farmers.
Think of farming. Look at the old physical toil that it would take on your body. Now you're largely driving around a tractor.
A California banker criticizing Wisconsin farmers for not working hard?
This guy doesn't have a clue.
And Eric Hovde insulted people who are overweight. He said they should have to pay more for their health care.
There should be consequences to those personal choices. Fine, you want to do that? Your health care is going to cost more.
Hovde would increase health care costs for 1 out of every 3 people in Wisconsin. How insulting is that?
Eric Hovde, what is wrong with this guy?
Paid for by Tammy Baldwin for Senate.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, candidate for Senate, and I approve this message.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos. Fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
It's the Mark Belling Football Preview Podcast. Mike Millett of American Sports Analyst and I preview the football weekend and give you point spread picks with a special focus on the Packers and Badgers. My producer Paul and an audience contestant make their picks too. A weekend football preview from a betting perspective. My weekly football preview and picking contest is a podcast too. The Mark Belling Football Preview Podcast drops every Thursday evening at 6:30. Available all weekend.
In about 10 minutes or so, we'll check in with Dave Spano of Annex Wealth Management, our Monday look at the markets, helping you know the difference. So we're going to do things a little bit differently this morning because we need to bring you a little bit early so we have time for Dave, your unhinged liberal of the day.
Make me crazy.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany. Make me crazy.
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
It's a musical-themed unhinged liberal of the day today. Our first runner-up from the iHeartRadio Music Festival is Haley Williams. And before we get to that, I want to get to Beth from Cedar Grove, who texts in, "Hi, Dan. I was a winner at the iHeart Music Festival in Vegas. I just want to thank everyone involved in working on this contest. I've never won anything before. It was wonderful. Thank you again." Well, Beth, we thank you for being a loyal listener. That's how we reward you / bribe you to listen to us by giving away great prizes. Yes, it was the iHeartRadio Music Festival in Las Vegas this weekend. 2 nights. A bunch of our listeners got to go, and a bunch of them got to see Haley Williams, the lead singer of the pop-punk group Paramore, go on an inspired, totally impromptu rant against Donald Trump.
Project 2025 is Donald Trump's playbook for controlling and punishing women, poor people of color, and the LGBTQ+ community. It is time for all Americans to band together and to finally defeat the Trump agenda. And the only way to do that is by confronting him at the polls. Do you want to live in a dictatorship? Well, show up and vote!
Yeah, Haley, girl power. That was incredible. She's just crouching down on the stage and just does this 30-second screed about Project 2025 and Trump being a dictator, and we got to get to the polls and vote. Totally impromptu. Just what a bright young lady. Oh, wait. A concert goer's cell phone footage from the side of the stage showed a dude in the front row holding up a sheet of paper that Haley Williams was reading from. She needed a cue card to talk for 30 seconds about Trump. Now, lest you think that's unhinged liberal of the day material, I will go to the Seattle area where rapper Macklemore was appearing at a pro-Palestinian concert and said this.
Straight up, say it. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna stop you. Yeah, f*** America.
You know what? Now, you might think that I disagree with that sentiment. I don't. Any nation in which Macklemore was at one point a top-selling artist is clearly a nation in decline. Macklemore forgetting that America made him a millionaire is rather obviously your unhinged liberal of the day. We'll get to Dave Spano. Take a look at the markets. Check out what else is going on at the intersection of politics and economics when we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Wisconsin families are getting crushed today. We're paying more for food, clothes, gas than ever. Our open border has allowed over 10 million illegal immigrants into our country the last 4 years, driving up the cost of health care and housing for every one of us. What's more, it's allowed fentanyl to pour into our communities, killing our friends and family. Kamala Harris and Senator Baldwin's policies created all these problems. It's time for change. I'm Eric Hovde, and that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. For too long, these career politicians have failed our country. They're all talk, no action. I'm not anything like these people. I'm a business guy who lives in a world where actually solving problems matters. We need to lower the cost of food, close our southern border, build more affordable housing, and fix our healthcare system. I'm Eric Hovde, candidate for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message because it's time for change.
Paid for by Hovde for Wisconsin.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. Realtor.com says depending on location and a few other factors, new hardwood floors add as much as 2.5% to a home's sale value, even if you plan to sell. Enjoy home more now while increasing your sale price with Flawless's LVP, hardwood, or amazing realistic, super wear-resistant modern laminate plank. Steamy wet dog and litter box aromas bother homeowners and buyers. But you say, Dave, we want the sound deadening and warmth underfoot of carpet? Our Delafield and New Berlin showrooms have countless style and combination flooring choices, including quality luxury carpet lines. Steamy stains and carpet stink, including pet fluids, wipe off Flawless Flooring's luxury vinyl plank and modern laminate plank, zero steam effortlessly. Our employee-only craftsmen meticulously refinish existing hardwood, even perfectly blending additional hardwood with existing. With Flawless's nothing down, zero interest financing, upgrade today and pay over 21 months. Sensory Underload Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
Hi, it's John Reitz from Great Midwest Bank. And you know, there's more to being a local Wisconsin bank than perfectly pronouncing Oconomowoc or Waukesha. Or is it Waukesha? But rest assured, at Great Midwest Bank, we understand the local community and economy because we're a part of it. At GMB, we provide customized lending products that others just can't offer. Experience a hometown banking difference. Head to greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
Tailor-made floors, family-owned since 1948, with 76 years of experience. We serve Washington, Ozaukee, Dodge, Milwaukee, and Waukesha counties. Located in Jackson, just a short drive north of Menominee Falls and Germantown. We offer a huge selection of carpets, waterproof vinyl planks and tiles, hardwood, laminate, and sheet vinyl. Choose from all the major brands. Take it with you or let us install it. Before you buy anywhere else, get an estimate from Tailor-Made Floors.
I'm a two-time Trump voter, but in 2024, I will be voting for Kamala Harris. Trump is not running for the country or democracy. He's running to keep himself out of jail. He is a criminal and he should be prosecuted. Kamala is a prosecutor. She is going to uphold the rule of law. Trump tries to avoid the rule of law.
Republican Accountability PAC, Inc., paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ra-pac.org.
Save big money on everything for your next project at Menards. Transform your space with Mohawk Perfect Seal laminate flooring. Enjoy the look and feel of real hardwood. It's waterproof, wear and stain resistant, and easy to install. Mohawk Solutions laminate flooring is on sale now through September 29th. Visit Menards for all your flooring needs and check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals going on.
Save big money at Menards.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Make new smiles affordable every day, so you don't need to wait another day to get your smile back. Visit us in Milwaukee, Kenosha, or Menominee Falls. Call 1-800-DENTURE. Affordable dentures and implants.
Go ahead and smile.
For your new roof, we'll give you the hands-down best lifetime workmanship warranty in the industry. You can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
I got my dates mixed up. We are not having Eric Hovde on today. I believe we're going to have him on Thursday. I call it a brain fart. I got a case. Somebody's got a case of the Mondays, and that somebody is me. I missed an email, yes sir, Friday afternoon. Basically, if you're trying to reach Dan O'Donnell, do not do it on Friday afternoon, especially when he's on the golf course. In the middle of shooting an 84, I might add. Yeah, I had a really nice round on Friday afternoon, so you can see why I missed that email. I was locked in, baby. I was locked in. Just like our good friend Dave Spano of Annex Wealth Management is locked in. Yes, Dave, I did broadcast the fact that I got an 84.
I heard you.
On Friday, just to you. Because when you and I golfed, I had one of the worst rounds I think I've ever had.
You played well. I can tell you can play. You hit the ball a long ways. You can play.
I did. Those greens were killing me, and my short game, which is usually the strength that I've got, just abandoned me.
Right.
So what I'm saying is I want another piece of you. This guy, ladies and gentlemen, when did you take up golf?
What?
Like 5 years ago?
Yesterday.
Not even.
Yesterday.
And this guy's shooting like consistently low 80s. Like, yeah, I just picked it up. I'm like, who's your coach? Tiger? In any event, always fun playing golf with you, Dave. Market's typically a good indicator of election results. What are we looking at right now?
Well, there's really four things that we do watch, because obviously if you watch the polls, I mean, it's toss-up in the seven areas, the 7 states we want to watch. And so those 7 states are not really a good indicator. And so we look at indicators like financial and economic indicators, the misery index, and that's a combination of inflation and unemployment, tipping towards Harris. S&P 500, if it rallies into the election, tipping towards Harris. The VIX is very calm, and the U.S. dollar all suggesting that she is going to win. But we could certainly have an October surprise. And one of those October surprises could mean that uncertainty in the market, the S&P 500 comes down, the VIX spikes. All of those things can happen. Unemployment, the Fed, as we well expected, lowered the rate 50 basis points, but that could be because they're concerned about unemployment beginning to rise. So all 3 of those things could change over the next 45 days or so. So a lot of stuff we're looking at. And of course, we're not just looking at the presidential election. We have to watch for sure who wins the Senate. Right now, the Republicans could flip that, and it could become a Republican Senate, which would be a big deal for tax policy. And of course, we certainly don't know what's going to happen with the House. So all of those things together, even if Harris would win in this, and if the market indicators are correct, that doesn't mean that the tax policy that she wants would go through. And, we talk about the expiration of the 2017 tax cuts, higher individual income taxes, higher standard deductions, lower amount of assets that could be inherited, higher estate taxes. All of these much higher taxes would be in play. And the last thing, and I'm sure you're going to cover this, Dan, is, as we brace for a close election, what happens with the area where she could flip the Senate, and that's the Electoral College, Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. They're talking about winner takes all. That could come down to this because the Electoral College is going to be very important. A lot of stuff that's out there right now, Dan.
Absolutely, and a lot of stuff we are going to talk about on our podcast, The Difference, that we record right after this radio show. This radio show's 2nd hour is coming up after this.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning, I'm Tad Allen. A 12-year-old in Arizona is arrested after making threats to a Milwaukee school. Police in Buckeye, Arizona were contacted by Milwaukee police regarding a school threat. An investigation found an IP address connected to the threat was linked to a home in Buckeye, just southwest of Phoenix. Police went to the home, interviewed a 12-year-old girl, and recovered evidence. She was arrested on felony charges, including making a terroristic threat. The Milwaukee school that received the threat wasn't identified. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s ballot fate is now in the hands of Wisconsin's liberal majority Supreme Court. Justices Friday agreed to decide Kennedy's ballot access case. He's arguing that Wisconsin law creates two different timelines to get off the ballot, one for Republicans and Democrats and another for independent candidates. A Dane County judge has already ruled against him. The Supreme Court's not hearing arguments in the case. The justices will simply read arguments from the lawyers. A decision could come by the end of the day. The man authorities believe wanted to shoot former President Trump on a Florida golf course has a detention hearing scheduled for today. Ryan Wesley Routh has been charged with firearm by a convicted felon in possession and receipt of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. He was caught not long after Secret Service agents allegedly saw Routh sticking a rifle out of the bushes on Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach. Prosecutors are expected to argue that Routh should be held in custody while awaiting trial. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, the Brewers have today off before starting a series against the Pirates in Pittsburgh tomorrow. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Ahlin on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Big news! We're relaunching our Capital Cares Club, now with no trip fees. As a member, we will never charge you to come to your home. We also give you a whole home electrical safety inspection because Capital does electrical now too. And if you join by September 30th, we will give you 3 months free and install a free whole home surge protector. That's important because all those little power surges sap the life from your appliances and electronics. You need the right breaker, so if you don't have it, we'll let you know. So, in addition to all the other benefits, an electrical safety inspection, no more trip fees, and if you join the Capital Cares Club, I'm recording an ad here, buddy. If you join by September 30th, you get a free whole home surge protector and 3 months free of the Capital Care. We're renaming the club to what?
Join Merle's League of Home Defenders today, online at callcapitalcares.com.
Merle's League?
Offering the latest information and the greatest analysis. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Partly cloudy skies today with a breezy northeast wind. We do have a beach hazard statement, so stay out of the water today. High near 68. Overnight will drop to 57, back near 70 tomorrow with some rain returning. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Hino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit LynchTruckCenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
It's showtime. Nary Home Improvement showtime. Hi, I'm Mike Madsen, owner of Color Wheel Painting. I invite you to visit Color Wheel at the Nary Milwaukee Home Improvement Show, October 18th to 20th. Now, why would you do something like this? Because it makes sense. And you like things that make sense. This is a chance to meet us in a no-pressure environment. Away from your home, away from any pressure of being sold, or feeling on the spot. So take some photos of your place, bring them along, generate some ideas, and take your time with us at our booth. Get to know Color Wheel. See if we are the right kind of people for you. And let's talk. It's literally what we're there for. Color Wheel Painting, cabinet painting, wallpaper install, ceilings, walls, and trim. One room or a large whole home project. One painter or many more. Always on time, on budget, and always the best service. Visit us at the Nary Milwaukee Home Improvement Show. Color Wheel Painting.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Dan Small here. Join me for the latest info on your favorite outdoor activities. Saturday morning at 6 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Brought to you by Remy Battery, serving Milwaukee since 1931. RemyBattery.com.
Be sure to listen to the NX Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. NX provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference.
This is where sycophants and chills are shunned, and commitment to the unvarnished truth is sustained. Just one reason that this is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Start the 10 o'clock hour of the Dan O'Donnell Show. Which major national political figure said this? We can't afford 4 more years of this. Donald Trump? J.D. Vance? Ted Cruz? I don't know, Sarah Palin, is she still around? Sounds like something she'd say. We can't afford 4 more years of this. How about Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate?
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
That was during a rally over the weekend. I couldn't believe my ears.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
My brother in Christ, you do realize that your running mate is the current vice president of the United States. 4 more years of this means 4 more years of Kamala Harris in charge. If you would like to join the Dan O'Donnell program, the AdventNews.com talk and text line is always open, 414-799-1130. I realized just now, it has been a while since we've taken callers. That's not really intentional. It's just sort of, how the shows have shaken out, but we would like to get more callers involved, more texts as well. The toll-free talk and text line, 1-800-838-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well. We really can't afford 4 more years of this, Tim. This might be the one thing I have ever agreed with Tim Walz on. And I think Kamala is starting to realize that she faces significant challenges, especially in the white working class vote that had been the benchmark of Democrat success, the backbone of the Democrat coalitions, especially in the upper Midwestern, traditionally blue-collar states, like here in Wisconsin as well as Pennsylvania and Michigan. So great was Democrats' stronghold on this that Hillary Clinton infamously called it her blue wall. Trump tore it down like he was Ronald Reagan talking to Gorbachev. Mr. Trump, tear down this blue wall. Wisconsin goes Republican for the first time since 1984. Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia all go to Trump. Ignore the polls. And I'm not telling you to ignore Dave Spano and ignore the markets, because the markets are typically a very, very good predictor of the election. But we really have a quasi-incumbent here and not necessarily an incumbent per se. We also have a rather unique election in that a candidate was sort of selected just a couple of months before the voting began. The easiest way to tell which candidate is winning a race and which candidate is losing a race is not by polling, is not by election projections like 538 or Nate Silver or The Economist or anything like that. It's not in the betting markets like Polymarket or Predictit that are increasingly popular among election prognosticators. The easiest way to tell which candidate is winning and which candidate is losing, the candidate that calls for more debates is almost certainly losing. Why? Because what's seen as the easiest way to shake up the status quo of a race is through a debate. It's watched by millions of people, or in a statewide race, it's watched by a whole lot of people. And the losing candidate generally has a chance to rattle the winning candidate and make themselves look far better by comparison. It's a way to create a momentum shift. Kamala supposedly got a big one after the first debate, but that now, it seems, is wearing off. Remember, 2, 3, 4 point Kamala leads in the national popular vote. So every national poll you see likely equates to a Donald Trump win, especially now the New York Times Siena College poll of 3 critical must-win swing states, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, all show Donald Trump building up his lead. If Trump wins those states, as well as Nevada, where he is looking very, very good, he only needs to win one of the blue wall states, i.e. Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin, while Kamala has to sweep all 3. In fact, if Trump can win Pennsylvania, the state I believe he is most likely to win out of those 3, he can actually afford to lose an Arizona or a Nevada because of the sheer volume of electoral votes in Pennsylvania. Ultimately, I have been saying for at least a year and a half, this election is going to come down to Pennsylvania. And Trump has a distinct advantage in Pennsylvania. When you saw it, I don't think people really internalized just how devastating not the Teamsters non-endorsement was, but the vote of Teamsters themselves, showing 58% were going to vote for Donald Trump or wanted an endorsement of Donald Trump, and only 30% wanted an endorsement of Kamala Harris. That is the Pennsylvania vote, the working class. That is the Wisconsin vote. That is the Michigan vote. So over the weekend, Kamala Harris, whose campaign immediately after the first debate said that was fun. Brian Fallon, one of her campaign consultants, got this narrative started. He tweeted out, "That was fun. Let's do it again in October." The Kamala campaign late last week and over the weekend reiterated their call for another debate. Kamala, as only Kamala can, said she really, really wanted to debate Trump, the former vice president.
Well, you probably heard I would like another debate, so I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that. But we have a lot more to discuss.
But she thinks she's going to be debating Dan Quayle, former vice president. What the heck is she talking about? She is getting increasingly desperate for another debate because she understands the trajectory of this race. And remember, for whatever reason, Republicans always seem to close very strong in October. The polls will typically show Democrats with a big lead or at least a substantial lead, and then Republicans will miraculously come from behind. I have always maintained that because the bandwagon effect is so real that it impacts how people will vote and how they'll donate money to candidates, that these media polls intentionally inflate Democrat support. And I've got the data to back this up. I have got 2 straight election cycles showing every single poll overstated Biden, overstated Hillary, and understated Trump to a significant degree right up until the polls tightened a little bit. There was still a significant miss in 2016. The polls were generally nationally pretty good in 2020. state level, there was about a 2.5% to 3% undercount of Trump's support. But the polls always tighten in October, I think, because the bandwagon effect has already been set. And then the polls have to be judged on their accuracy, right? The only polls that people look at are the polls that are done right before the election, because the pollsters can say, well, at this moment in time, everybody was going to vote for the Democrat. Really? In an era where there are fewer undecideds, I think, than ever before, there's a smaller, squishy middle than ever before. Really, these people are just flip-flopping and changing their minds. I don't buy it for one, but regardless, that's how polling is typically scored, on the final poll or two polls before the election. All of the polls that had the best results in 2020, Rasmussen, Insider Advantage, and Trafalgar, are all the ones that are most bullish on Trump this time. National polls don't typically matter all that much because, again, Trump can lose the popular vote by between 4, 5, perhaps even as much as 6%, if you can believe that, and still win the race. He lost the 2020 election by 7 million total votes, but all of those votes were in California and New York. That's it. The total margin, in fact, the total margin of Hillary Clinton's popular vote victory was the state of California. It was her margin of victory in California. That was it. Trump only actually lost 2020 by 45,000 votes in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. In two of those states, according to the most recent polling, he's sort of running away. And he only needs to win one of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania if, in fact, he sweeps the South. Trump, over the weekend, said, no, there aren't going to be any more debates. And the reason he gave, well, Democrats should maybe be kicking themselves for having election month instead of election day.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited and they turned it down. But now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because she's losing badly. You know, it's like a fighter. She sees the pulse. She sees what's happening. She's losing badly. But it's like a fighter who goes into the ring and gets knocked out. The first thing he says is, I want a rematch. I want a rematch.
Yeah, did you see the big fight over the weekend? Anthony Joshua, the big British heavyweight who's considered one of the finest fighters, he got absolutely dominated in an IBF championship. And I was just brought back to when he lost to Ruiz. Alexander Ruiz, I think his name is. He's this pudgy dude who's standing next to Joshua. And Joshua is this lean, it looked like Rocky Balboa. It's like a Mexican Rocky Balboa against a British Apollo Creed. And Andy Ruiz, just dominates him. What the first thing Joshua says, I want a rematch. I only watched the highlights of this fight over the weekend where, I can't remember the guy's name who beat him off the top of my head. But Joshua just got dominated. I don't know if he asked for a rematch, but the winner never asks for a rematch. The winner is always content to bask in the glow of his victory. What was the name of that, producer Andrew? Daniel Dubois, one of the two. The winner always says, we're looking forward. Yes, we won. There was something also very interesting at the end of the first Trump-Kamala debate. One of the biggest endorsements, I would argue possibly the biggest endorsement that could be given, was Taylor Swift. By far the biggest. Now, you laugh. Everybody's laughing at this. Taylor Swift has an intensely loyal fan base, and it's massive. Absolutely massive. She endorsed Kamala Harris when? Almost exactly as that debate ended. This was rather obviously previously scheduled to go out on Instagram, right? Why would it go out right after the debate? Because it would naturally take away from the coverage of the debate. I'm telling you, Kamala's people went in there thinking they have so little faith in her ability to debate or speak extemporaneously that they thought she was going to just get massacred by Trump, and they needed to take the attention away from the debate. You don't do a Taylor Swift endorsement on the same day as the debate because the two stories sort of get swallowed up by each other. There's no real focus. The idea is you want to win each day of news coverage in the final stages of a presidential election. Why would you have the Taylor Swift endorsement at the end of that debate unless the intention was to put all the focus on Taylor Swift's endorsement and take it away from the debate? And please spare me your, well, she just did that because she was watching the debate. Oh, give me a break. A presidential endorsement of that magnitude doesn't just sort of, what do you think, Taylor's sitting on the toilet and just on Instagram and saying, yeah, I think I'll endorse Kamala Harris right now, is clearly planned. So they didn't think she would do nearly as well as she did. I firmly believe Kamala did probably win that debate. But then when it comes to who won the debate versus who actually flipped persuadable voters, there was a bit of a disconnect because more supposedly undecided voters, I still have my doubts about whether any of these people who make it on the TV panels are truly undecided. If I go on, if I'm somebody who wants to be on TV, who wants to be on one of these Frank Luntz focus groups, if I say, oh yeah, I'm a hardcore Trump voter who's going to vote for Trump and nothing could ever change my mind, you're never going to make it on there. So I think people know, okay, I'm going to lie and say, oh yes, I am still persuadable. I just don't know who I'm going to vote for. I think there's a lot of that, but the persuadable voters all moved to Donald Trump. And the biggest reason given was their views on how each candidate answered questions on the economy. We'll get into that in just 3 minutes when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
The biggest headliners in live music shared the stage this past weekend at our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Big Sean,
Camila Cabello, Doja Cat, Dua Lipa,
Gwen Stefani,
Halsey,
Hosier, Keith Urban,
New Kids on the Block, Paramore,
The Black Crows, The Weeknd, Thomas Rhett,
Victoria Monet.
Chris from the band Coldplay.
This lineup for this festival is nuts.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Get ready to relive the once-in-a-lifetime moments starting October 7th, only on Hulu.
They used water to restore your wood? No wonder you need us. Well, don't worry. This time we'll do it right. You see, water raises the grain of wood, warps it, and opens splits and glue joints. It's the enemy of finished furniture. And that's why we only remove your finish chemically. It's not the cheap way, but it is the best way. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you have a great piece and want to see if it's worth restoring, of course we can send someone out there. And no, we won't charge for the visit. We've been doing that for almost 50 years, along with pickups and deliveries, to get the beautiful piece that we restore back in your home safe and sound. And we'll guarantee your satisfaction to boot. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair, where no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
Since 1899, Port Washington State Bank has been dedicated to helping small businesses. I'm James Showalter, president of PWSB and a proud resident of Ozaukee County. For over 5 generations, we've been helping businesses in southeastern Wisconsin do more. Our commercial lending team takes the time to listen and provide the care you deserve. We're proud to serve this community, and we'd be proud to serve your business. Stop into Port Washington State Bank today.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medishare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-43-BIBLE. That's 844-43-BIBLE. 844-43-BIBLE.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
Couldn't agree more, Governor Walz. Tim Walz just nuking the entire Kamala campaign. This does, though, go to the heart of what Kamala is trying to do here. She's trying to paint Trump as the incumbent because she knows that the misery index is high and people are feeling terrible. I think this is why the stock market, and we're going to discuss this on The Difference, our weekly podcast that we do with Dave Spano, available on your iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. This is why I think that might not necessarily be as good an indicator as it usually is, the state of the stock market, because people just can't afford everyday essentials. There is a clip going around TikTok and Twitter, and I don't know the original user. I've seen it floating around all weekend. It was absolutely fantastic. It's nothing but a 2-minute clip of how Donald Trump and Kamala Harris answered the exact same question, the single question that is going to dominate voters' minds and probably dominate their decision of who to vote for. How will you fix the economy? Also, note the phrasing there. If everything was going great and everybody is so happy, why is the predominant question here, how will you fix the economy? First, here's Donald Trump's from a recent town hall event that he did. It was broadcast on C-SPAN. Here's Trump's answer. How will you fix the economy?
How are you going to bring down the cost of food and groceries?
Good. Very good. Thank you. So we have to start always with energy. Always. I don't want to be boring about it, but there's no bigger subject. It covers everything. If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal, and we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, we've done a hell of a job. 5-0, not 15, 50. Interest rates are going to follow, and actually they're going to follow for another reason. The economy is now not good, and interest rates, you'll see they'll do the rate cut and all the political stuff tomorrow, I think. And, will he do a 0.5 point? Will he do a 1/4 point? But the reason is because the economy is not good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. But we're going to get interest rates down, and we got to work with our farmers. Our farmers are being decimated right now. They're being absolutely decimated. And, one of the reasons is we allow a lot of farm product into our country, and we're going to have to be a little bit like other countries. We're not going to allow so much we're going to let our farmers go to work.
So those were 3 pretty specific policies. We're going to reduce the cost of energy, and implicit in that answer is we're going to get back to aggressive exploration and drilling and get back our domestic energy production to a level where it was when I was president. Number 2, because he's right, by the way, the cost of transportation of goods is the major driver. The dramatic spike in the cost of fuel, especially diesel, is a major driver of the higher prices. The cost to producers, what's known as the producer price index, has been driven. It's typically driven by one thing, and that's the cost of employees, right? That's the biggest cost that producers typically incur. But now we've had such a dramatic spike in the cost of just the natural resources, the raw materials that are needed to produce goods. And in that is the cost of diesel. And then he's talking about we need to have more protectionist policy on farmers, get a lot of our food produced domestically, not importing things from Mexico or other countries. And this is just part and parcel of Trump. I tend to disagree with him. I'm more of a free trader, but he was right in renegotiating NAFTA clearly and putting the onus back on domestic production of pretty much all goods. I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing. I just differ slightly. But those were specific policies. He even says, I don't want to bore you too much, but I'm going to talk about policy. That was last Tuesday. A couple of days later, Kamala went on the Oprah Winfrey live stream and was asked basically the exact same question.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that.
Did she say anything of substance in 40 seconds? She goes on like that for another 20 to 30 seconds. We actually played the entire soundbite last week, the day after the Oprah Winfrey live stream. So I wouldn't be accused of cherry picking that out. But for about 45 seconds to a minute 15, and she did it also in a local Philadelphia news interview, where she just goes, I was born in a middle-class family. I grew up a middle-class kid, and then goes into this nonsensical answer before saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give people tax credits for home buyers and tax credits for having children and all of this. How exactly is that going to bring down prices? She never says. This is also why she answers the "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" question in that debate. The very first question of the debate, the one that most Americans were tuned into. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? She's asked point blank by David Muir. Are Americans better off than they were 4 years ago? She literally says, so I was born a middle-class kid. She doesn't answer the question ever because she knows what the answer is. Trump can very clearly say, no, we're not better off. We were far better off when I was president. That is about as potent an argument as it gets. And this is why Kamala is trying to do a very rare thing, running against her own record, pretending she's the change agent. This is why her narrative, this is why everything that comes out of her mouth has sort of shifted to, I represent a new generation of leadership. We will not go back to more of the same. She understands that this is a change election. That is very, very bad for an incumbent party. When the American populace wants change, they're going to vote for the outsider. She's trying to say, well, Trump represents more of the same, Project 2025 and so forth. This is why Tim Walz, Kamala's emotional support buffoon, gets up there and feels comfortable saying, we can't stand 4 more years of this, as though people are so dumb that they think Trump is president now. We have got more signs of trouble in the polls for Kamala. Also, Joe Biden and Tony Evers, two confused birds of a feather. Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you on the adventure of a lifetime with Cruise and Tour, sailing Norway's breathtaking fjords aboard the magnificent Celebrity Eclipse, June 13th through the 23rd. The soaring mountainous landscapes, the crystal blue waters, the jaw-dropping glaciers, and the charm of old world Europe, all on one magical trip. We'll spend 2 days in Amsterdam, taking in the beauty of one of the most famous cities in the world, and then we'll board our ship, state-of-the-art vessel with world-class amenities and entertainment. We'll cruise the fjords, which are almost indescribably beautiful. The mountain vistas rise above amazing ports of call like Molde, known as the Town of Roses, and Olden, a 17th century village at the basin of cascading waterfalls. For more information and to make your reservation, call 800-383-3131 or head to cruise-tour.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Hey, it's Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, which really is the best decision you can make after a collision. But don't just take my word for it. You hear me talk all the time about how great Mander is. Here's customer Melissa, who writes, "This is the second vehicle we have had repaired at Mander, and we will keep coming back anytime it's needed. They kept me updated every step of the way and took care of car rental details, so I was never without transportation. I had a question after I left, and everything was answered. They don't just send you off with a hearty handshake. They stand behind their work with a lifetime warranty, and customer service is absolutely top notch." That's right, Melissa, and that's why I have been recommending Mander and been a loyal Mander customer for so many years. Now with 7 locations to serve you. Start your repair today at mandercollision.com. Mander really is the best decision after a collision.
Make American Family Field your space to grow relationships with clients, employees, and prospects with Brewers season memberships for the 2025 season. Your corporate season membership with the Brewers grants exclusive discounts on premium meeting spaces, invitations to networking events, and one-of-a-kind opportunities to grow your business at the ballpark. Learn more about Brewers season memberships for businesses at brewers.com/ticket plans or call 414-902-PITS.
Hi, it's John Reitz from Great Midwest Bank, and as a community bank, we sincerely appreciate our customer loyalty. Over nearly 90 years, we've done all we can to return the favor. Great Midwest Bank offers flexible solutions that bigger banks and credit unions simply can't, because our entire team is right here in the community. We love helping our neighbors when we're at work and then catching up over the weekend. Visit us at greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. Freedom is a wonderful yet fragile ideal. Freedom empowers us to be great and do great things, individually and as a nation. As Americans, we are the stewards of freedom, and we are responsible for its preservation. This starts with voting. Voting is a privilege, and we are obligated to research and select leaders who stand for the promise of the American dream. Our choice for president cannot be driven solely by opposition to one candidate. And while not voting or choosing a third party is our right, we must ask, are these choices the best way to protect our freedoms? Our vote is precious. Let us remember that freedom is a privilege paid for by the lives of countless men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. By making informed, selfless choices on Election Day, we honor their legacy and the legacy of freedom. From all the landscape experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services, may God bless you and may God bless America.
Need to sell your home fast? Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer can help you with that. Get cash for your home quick, no matter the reason you're selling it or the condition it's currently in. Visit MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com and find out about how you can sell your home fast for cash.
When you have a stuffy nose, life can be a bit unpleasant. Some live every day with a stuffy nose, and that can make life downright miserable. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula with Advent, where we are committed to eliminating your nasal breathing problems with simple in-office procedures like balloon sinuplasty, which requires no surgical cuts, little to no downtime, and can have you breathing better in less than 30 minutes. At Advent, we understand your inability to breathe freely limits your quality of life, and that's why we continue to pioneer the most advanced in-office procedures that have made our practice a global destination for those seeking to live their highest quality of life. Visit AdventKnows.com to see if you're a candidate for the balloon sinuplasty procedure, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like the Beatles Now and Then, celebrating all things Beatles.
Together, you say goodbye, and I say hello.
Legendary clips, deep cuts, live performances, and all their solo hits. Just open the free iHeartRadio app and search the Beatles Now and Then and listen now. iHeartRadio. Free never sounded so good.
iHeartRadio.
Hello, everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Lord of mercy. All night Sunday, Central.
Conservative thought, not just talk.
This is Dan O'Donnell.
Consider me the entity within the industry without a history of spitting the epitome of stupidity.
People want to know, Dan, are you spitting the epitome of stupidity when you talk about these polls? Because pretty much every poll shows Kamala Harris with a lead. I am the entity within the industry without a history of spitting the epitome of stupidity, though, because I look a little bit deeper into polls, into what's going on. Remember, I always say polls are one aspect of how you can tell how a race is going. Projection models are another. Candidate spending is another. Ground game is another. Where candidates go is another. And their actions when it comes to debates and what they're saying, that sort of thing, is another. And if you look a little bit deeper into the polls, as even liberal media poll analysis is doing, you will see that Kamala is facing some significant issues. NBC poll that came out this weekend, Kamala has got a big 5-point national lead. She should be celebrating. Right? Wrong. Meet the Press yesterday. Amy Walters says she's not doing all that great among young voters.
Young voters have not, if you look at the data, they have not turned out at the rate that Democrats would need them to be in order to really give them that advantage.
She's talking about that in the context of North Carolina early vote, mail-in vote returns. In North Carolina and in Pennsylvania, both critical swing states, Republicans are doing, as a percentage of returned mail-in ballots, far, far better. Remember, you can tell in those states there's party registration. We don't have that in Wisconsin. You can vote in whichever primary you like. In other states, Pennsylvania among them, you have to register as a Republican in order to vote in Republican primaries, or you need to register as a Democrat. So you can see where exactly these ballot returns are coming from, registered Republicans or registered Democrats. Democrats still have a lead in the total number of absentee ballots returned, but that lead is not nearly as massive as it was in the early stages at this exact point in 2020. And remember, Democrats won and won what turned out to be an incredibly narrow election on the strength of overwhelming mail-in ballot returns. Election day is still dominated by Republicans. Now, does this mean that Democrats are in trouble in those states? No, it's still far too early. In fact, Democrats tend to be more procrastinators than Republicans when it comes to these ballots. So you might see a massive flood of Democrat ballot returns later on in the race. But I can tell you early on, they are concerned because young voters are not voting early. ABC is raising the alarm about Kamala's polling and Donald Trump's sudden strength amongst Latino voters.
30-plus point advantage for Joe Biden in the exit polls among Latino voters from 4 years ago. Hillary Clinton won Latino voters by 40 points. And, of course, she still lost the presidency. So there's some real ground to make up across demographics, but particularly with Latino voters. Kamala Harris has some issues that she's got to attend to.
Yes, she certainly does. And how about this? In terms of non-traditional voters, young voters, especially young male voters, Latino voters, especially male Latino voters, you will notice a trend here. This is probably going to be the biggest gender difference in the vote in American history. Men really are from Mars, the red planet, and women are from Venus. They're going to vote for Kamala. Men are going to overwhelmingly vote for Donald Trump, including the mayor of a Muslim majority city in Michigan. Amir Ghalib, mayor of the suburb of Detroit, a town called Hamtramck, I apologize if I'm butchering that name, announced his endorsement of Trump on a Facebook post yesterday. He says, Trump and I don't agree on everything, but he says Trump is a man of principles. Quote, though it's looking good, he may or may not win the election and be the 47th president of the United States, but I believe he is the right choice for this critical time. I'll not regret my decision no matter what the outcome would be, and I'm ready to face the consequences for this and many other reasons. I announce my support and endorsement for the former and hopefully next president of the United States, Donald Trump. So you've got possibly more Muslim American support in Michigan. And remember, the Muslim population there was furious with how Biden and Harris have handled the Hamas-Israel war. In Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin and everywhere else, there's a high concentration of union or even non-union blue-collar workers. The Teamsters vote was significant because the Teamsters, AFL-CIO, teachers unions, of course, police, fire unions, these working class people, predominantly working class men, were traditional Democrat voters. No longer. If they aren't, if such an overwhelming percentage of them and an overwhelming percentage of people in those jobs are men, if they're all moving to Donald Trump, Kamala faces critical problems with key constituencies. In Nevada and Arizona, hemorrhaging Latino support, even to the point where she's only winning by 15 to 17 points, is a significant problem because that could be the margin of victory. Same thing with the union vote, both in the SEIU workers out in Las Vegas and also the Teamsters spread across the country, but heavily concentrated on the East Coast, Pennsylvania. Of course, you've got coal mining there. In Wisconsin, you have got dairy farmers, you've got heavy agriculture outstate. These are significant problems for Kamala Harris that nobody seems to want to talk about. She's got a coalition of predominantly female, predominantly single female college or post-college educated voters that might not be able to equate to a majority. Sure, she's probably going to run up the score in California, in Illinois, in New York, in the heavily Democratic states. But in those key swing states, which are still very purple, I'm seeing a whole lot of signs that say, wait a second, she's not nearly as strong as she pretends to be, or even as Biden was, especially amongst the blue-collar voters in Pennsylvania, to whom he was just Scranton Joe. Remember how many times he said, well, I grew up in Scranton. We add this to the list of places he said he grew up. He said he grew up in a Jewish synagogue. He grew up in the Catholic Church. He grew up, but the point is he was always blue collar working class Joe. Kamala is not able to do this. She is a California liberal who is seen as a California liberal. Do you want me to illustrate just how effective the California liberal attack is? Tammy Baldwin's trying to do it to Eric Hovde. You hear her ads on this show. And by the way, if I was a media buyer for Tammy Baldwin, I could not think of a worse place to spend your money than the Dan O'Donnell Show. Taking a wild guess, you're reaching maybe 5 to 10% of our audience, which admittedly is massive, okay? We are the most listened to radio station in terms of audience share in the entire United States of America. We're doing very, very well. Thank you all very much. But what Tammy is doing is portraying herself as the woman of the people. She's the one for the working class. Eric Hovde is this out-of-state California banker. What do you think? If even Tammy Baldwin is using that attack, you'd better believe that it is a potent slight on Kamala Harris. We will get to the latest example of Biden losing his mind and why he's so similar to Tony Evers in that regard.
If you're someone who is experiencing spine, shoulder, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Find them at orthowisconsin.com. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality of joint care and specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. there is a difference.
Tradition counts. It shows in our undying passion for the green and gold. Hi, this is Terry Lodwick, owner of All American Window and Door Company. We're also part of a proud tradition. Family owned and operated, All American Window and Door is your veteran hometown team. Don't let high heating bills throw you for a loss. Take steps now to winter-proof your home. All American Window and Door Company on Mequon Road in Germantown, 262-255-7170. Estimates are free.
The next generation ultimate double hung window from Marvin, featuring never before seen hardware, operation, performance, and design, is an impressive product. With the flick of the sweep, the bottom and top sashes can both be opened to let air in. And when one sash is open, the other can be locked, a feature that no other double hung window on the market offers. And in vent mode, the sash can be opened up to 4 inches while remaining locked, giving you added ventilation with security. In my life, I've seen plenty of windows, but I've never been as excited as I am to offer Marvin's next generation ultimate double hung window to you. This is David Wilhelm. See for yourself, Marvin Windows and Doors are built around you, and Marvin's next generation ultimate double hung window is proof positive of that. See Wisconsin's largest selection of Marvin Windows and Doors at your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Any exterior remodeling company can give you a lot of good reasons to get a new roof, siding, windows and doors, or masonry work. Aesthetic appeal alone or just resale value help it all make sense. But I'm compelled to continue to tell you what sets Semper Fi apart from the rest. What you're going to get from Semper Fi is a reputation that is backed by an undeniable stack of proof that we are who we say we are. Our character is guided by a level of trust and accountability which not only holds our teams together, but also keeps our reputation intact. And ultimately, that means leaving you satisfied. So when you're about to make that big investment in your home, isn't that what you want? This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi!
Life takes a toll on our bodies, no way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time, your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain. Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference, instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do about things like retirement planning, selling a business, or building your legacy. So when other advisors present products packed with commissions, you start to wonder, is this advice or a sales pitch? Annex Wealth Management is a fee-only fiduciary. No commission products, just clear thinking when it comes to investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning. Head to AnnexWealth.com, click the Get Started button. It only takes a couple of minutes. Know the difference with a fee-only fiduciary. That's Annex Wealth Management.
Don't think twice, call Geist. Need a new garage door, do it right. Don't think twice, call Geist.
For all your garage door needs, don't think twice, call Geist or visit their online showroom at geiststores.com.
Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Go to TriCountyContractingWI.com to see completed projects near you, find out about our worry-free roof tune-up, request a free estimate, or get your free online instant roof price. Tri-County Contracting.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Can we stop up with the idea that there's a quarterback controversy in Green Bay. Please. Malik Willis has indeed been spectacular in 2 games, filling in for the injured Jordan Love. But there is no controversy whatsoever. Jordan Love almost certain, I believe, to start this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings, who look like they've got by far the best defense in the NFL. They are a very good team this year, unfortunately. And the Packers, if Love is ready to go, are going to go with him. But how about Malik Willis starring in a revenge game against the Tennessee Titans down in Tennessee? Packers move to 2-1 on the season. How did Joe Biden spend his weekend? By forgetting who it was he was supposed to introduce. It was the Prime Minister of India.
I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
That is so cringe. You could see Biden getting frustrated and angry. Yes, there were teleprompters. And yes, he had those cue cards that say, you will introduce Prime Minister Modi. You will shake his hand. Do you know who else we now know has those exact same directives? Governor Tony Evers. Thanks to some great reporting work by the Wisconsin Right Now team, great friends of the Dan O'Donnell Show, Jim and Jessica just do an excellent job. They filed an open records request some time ago and finally got the Warren Spahn emails that were sent to a dummy address that Tony Evers set up to try to thwart open records requests. Someone like me or someone like Wisconsin Right Now will request all emails sent to and from tony.evers@wi.gov or whatever the official Tony Evers email address is, and they'll get back responsive records, all emails sent to and from. Well, it turns out he's really doing government business on this email, Warren Spahn. Now, a number of other governors, including Scott Walker, have done this because, as you could imagine, a Tony Evers email address is public and therefore gets a ton of emails. I'm a radio host. I must get 500 emails a day, most of them completely and totally useless, from PR people, spam, campaigns, whatever it is. I'm just going to assume the governor of a state gets tons. But where the deception comes in is where they don't respond to open records requests saying all emails to and from Tony Evers. Well, Warren Spahn is Tony Evers. What we now know is that not only did Evers need to have his hand held for pretty much every public event, even when he was welcoming the NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, when he was showing up for an event with the Green Bay Packers, he had to have pictures of all of the people, like, here's Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer, since fired. Here's Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. This is Aaron Rodgers, Tony. You might be meeting him. You should probably know who he is. Another revelation. Tony Evers, great outdoorsman, needed to be told what a bobber for fishing was. A rod, a reel, basic stuff that you would think someone who's really a man of the people who hunts and fishes just like you. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not the biggest fisherman. My fishing usually extends to off of my mother's pier on the lake. And, you know, I think I use a SpongeBob SquarePants reel. Rod that the kids got when they were, 3-4 years old, because the kids use the good rods and daddy has to use the SpongeBob rod. So I'm not exactly a serious fisherman, but I know what a bobber is. The big revelation here, though, is that Governor Evers appears to, while not clearly as mentally gone as Joe Biden, faces the same fears from his staff that he really doesn't know what's going on, what he's supposed to be doing at any given second. This has sort of normalized the idea. When you've got the First Lady, Jill Biden, leading the first cabinet meeting for the Biden administration in a year, it normalizes the idea that we have a presidency or governorship by committee, that the decisions aren't being made by one person, but rather that one person, for whatever reason, infirmity, age, disinterest, whatever, is just not fully engaged, and that the job of governor is actually being handled by a group of people. Out of time for today's show. It was a fun one, and have no fear, we are back exactly 22 hours from now. We'll do it all again on the Dan O'Donnell Show.